Hey everyone, and welcome back to Milan Soccer Club, the podcast for all you die-hard Rossoneri fans. I'm Alice, and as always, I'm here with Paul.
That's me, Paul here, ready to dive deep into what can only be described as, well, a complete and utter mess at Milan. Honestly, Alice, I needed a couple of days to recover after that Lazio defeat. Just brutal.
Tell me about it, Paul. I mean, after that loss, we were both just, speechless. We couldn't even bring ourselves to record. We spent hours talking to fans outside the stadium, on the subway, just trying to make sense of it all. The disappointment, the anger. It was palpable, and now a couple of days later, it seems like things have only gotten worse, which I didn't think it was possible.
Worse is an understatement, Alice. This isn't just a bad run of form. This is a full-blown crisis. And that's why today's episode is titled Going Down a Bad News Every Day, because honestly, it is worse every day. We're talking about potential legal action, internal conflicts, and a general sense of, impending doom. So buckle up, folks. This is going to be a bumpy ride.
Okay, so let's try to break this down. We've got a major crisis brewing with the coach, Conceicao, and his ex-spokesperson, who apparently decided to air some dirty laundry about the club without authorization. Then there's the tension between the ownership and management, the lack of a proper sporting director. It's like a never-ending soap opera. And to make matters worse, Cardinali and Furlani had a critical meeting in New York to deal with the issues and set a clear path.
Exactly. They're supposedly discussing everything from appointing a new sporting director and clarifying the manager situation to setting the summer transfer budget and pushing forward with the stadium project. And to top it all off, we have Jerry Cardinali making public statements about sports business without even mentioning Milan. I mean, come on. What about the team's performance on the field? Key players like Theo Hernandez, Leao, and Maignan are seriously underperforming. And then there's Conceicao's tactical decisions for the next match, which seem questionable, to say the least. And naturally, the fans are absolutely furious.
Okay, Paul, that's a lot to unpack. Where do we even begin? I guess the most shocking thing is this whole situation with Conceicao's ex-spokesperson. What exactly happened there?
Okay, Alice, this is where it gets truly bizarre. So apparently, this spokesperson sent a message to several journalists outlining a bunch of grievances. Things like Conceicao feeling alone, not having met Cardinali, issues within the locker room, and a lack of time to actually train the team because of the congested schedule. Sound familiar?
Yeah. That sounds like the same problems we were talking about months ago with Fonseca and even last year with Pioli.
Exactly. So, the club finds out about this message and all hell breaks loose. Conceicao then comes out in a press conference announcing legal action against his former collaborator, accusing him of acting out of cattiveria, malice, or even being paid by someone to spread these rumors. It's wild, Alice, wild.
Wait, so he's suggesting someone paid the spokesperson to sabotage him? That's a pretty serious accusation. Okay, 2 questions. First, what was the spokesperson's side of the story? And second, what was the motivation? I mean, why would someone do that?
Well, the spokesperson, Francisco Empis, has since resigned, issuing a statement saying that none of the points he raised were validated by Conceicao and that he caused damage to his reputation. He says he takes full responsibility for the error committed. As for motivation, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Conceicao himself suggested cattiveria, or being paid by someone. Honestly, Alice, it could be anything. Disgruntled employee, someone trying to destabilize the club, a rival agent. Who knows? I mean, it sounds really bizarre.
This is insane. The spokesperson basically says, I made it up for the chaos. And what about Conceicao's reaction? Was he convincing? Because from what I've read, he's been deflecting a lot of criticism lately, even bringing up his past achievements.
That's exactly it. He went on the defensive, talking about winning the cup in Portugal and mentioning how he only lost to Arsenal on penalties, even saying that he lost only against Arsenal that scored 7 goals. He comes across as, almost wounded, Alice, by the negative atmosphere. It's like he's trying to remind everyone who he is. But, bringing up past glories doesn't really address the current problems, does it?
No, it doesn't. It actually makes him sound a little out of touch, to be honest. I saw someone compare it to Mazzari making excuses back in the day. Not a good look, Paul. Not a good look.
Absolutely, and it gets worse. He tried to downplay the importance of the Portuguese Cup compared to winning the Scudetto in Italy. I mean, while there's some truth to that, it just comes across as defensive, like you said. He sounds insecure, especially when he claims that one Portuguese Cup cannot be compared with one Champions League. It is a way to try to deflect the issues.
Okay, so the coach is under pressure, dealing with internal sabotage, and maybe not handling it in the best way. But what about the bigger picture? I mean, you mentioned the ownership and management situation. What's going on there?
That's the million-dollar question, Alice. It seems like there's a real lack of clarity in the decision-making structure. We don't know who's really in charge, and that leads to even more chaos. Is it Cardinali? Is it Furlani? Is it Abramovich meddling? It's all very opaque, and that's never a good sign. According to some reports, Cardinali and Ibrahimovic have already interviewed 3 potential candidates for the sporting director position. And that's, well, it's concerning.
Concerning how? Because from what I understand, not having a sporting director at this point in the season is already a huge red flag.
Exactly. To be talking about appointing a sporting director in March is, as someone said, ridiculous and almost an admission of guilt. It's like saying, we messed up everything until now. It shows a complete lack of planning and foresight. Every decision that has been made was wrong.
And if they appoint Iglitare, the former Lazio director, as some reports suggest, what do you think? Is that a good move?
Honestly, Alice, I'm not convinced. Apparently, someone said that accepting the Milan job in this situation, where it's unclear who's in charge, is madness. Who is in charge? Nobody knows. It's a collective decision, or is it Ibrahimovic plus Moncada plus Furlani? It's a mess. If Terry doesn't have real power, it's a recipe for disaster, a complete, utter chaos situation.
So, nobody wants to come to the club. Too much pressure. But let's talk about the New York meeting between Cardinali and Furlani. What exactly was on the agenda?
According to reports, everything was on the table, Alice. New sporting director, manager situation, summer transfer budget, the stadium project, you name it. They need to figure out the path because they have not a single clue what to do. I mean, how could they not? They should not miss the choice of the next manager.
And what about the elephant in the room? Cardinali's recent comments about the sports business, where he fails to mention even once Milan? It's strange, right?
It's beyond strange, Alice. It's almost insulting to the fans. He was at some sports analytics conference talking about building sports empires and monetizing intellectual property, but he couldn't even bring himself to mention the club he owns. It's like he's ashamed of Milan, or he sees it as just another asset in his portfolio, not a club with a rich history and passionate fan base. He was just speaking about business, a shame.
Okay, so he talked about investing in sports and entertainment, adding value, and generating revenue. He even talked about the differences between the US and European sports models. Did he give any hints about his vision for Milan?
Well, he talked about the importance of balancing entertainment with the integrity of the sport, which is a noble sentiment, but it doesn't really tell us anything specific about his plans for Milan. He did mention Liverpool as a good example of a well-run club. They're trying to copy Liverpool. That's it. But again, it's all very vague and corporate speak. There was no passion, no connection to the club, no feeling that he actually cares about Milan's success on the pitch.
It's like he's running a hedge fund, not a football club. So, let's shift gears and talk about the team's performance. Key players are underperforming, and Conceicao is making some questionable tactical decisions. What's going on there, Paul?
Oh boy, where do I even start? Theo Hernandez has been a shadow of his former self. Leao is inconsistent, and Maignan, our rock in goal, has been making uncharacteristic errors. They're not performing, not at all. Conceicao himself admitted that he's seen highs and lows in their performances, but instead of motivating them, he seems to be, punishing them. He's benching Leao and Theo.
Wait, he's benching Leao and Theo? Seriously? Those are 2 of our most important players. What's the logic behind that?
That's what everyone is asking. He's also not playing Musa, and he's giving Bondo his debut. He's playing Sotil, Alex Jimenez, and Pulisic. It's like he's trying to shake things up, send a message, but it seems like a desperate move. It's very questionable.
I understand the need to shake things up, but benching your best players seems counterproductive. It's like he's trying to prove a point instead of trying to win the game. He can't start from scratch. But he has 11 games to revert the situation.
Exactly, and that's what's so frustrating. He seems more concerned with making a statement than with actually fixing the problems on the pitch. He even said he tried to get close to the players and hug them. The fans want to see results, not hugs. They have no connection with the team.
So, what's the solution, Paul? Can Conceicao turn things around? Can the ownership get their act together? Or are we heading for a complete disaster?
Honestly, Alice, I don't know. Conceicao has 11 games to save his job, but even winning the Coppa Italia might not be enough. Some people don't like some of the way he talks or communicates, but honestly speaking, winning the cup won't be enough. They would be medaglies, but nothing else.
So you believe he can't even save his job with the victory of the cup? Seriously? What would it take to save his job?
Well, there is still one thing that would save the coach and make him stay for a long time. That would be getting into the next Champions League. That would mean everything, but I still doubt it will be enough.
For sure, the team doesn't make you think that they will be able to get into the Champions League.
That's for sure.
It's a mess, Paul. A complete and utter mess. And the worst part is, it's hard to see a way out of it right now.
I agree, Alice. Unless there's a major shakeup, a change in leadership, and a clear plan for the future, I'm afraid we're in for a very long and painful season, and maybe even longer. Is there a good thing happening?
Well, to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this depressing episode of Milan Soccer Club. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are you as worried as we are? Do you see any hope for the future? I mean, tell us. We need some hope.
Yeah, seriously. And be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode, where we'll probably be discussing another disaster at Milan. Sadly, this has been Paul.
And Alice. Until next time, Forza Milan, I guess.